clean is the problem.
You're so sophisticated looking right now.
The
Look at you
problem.
being like a librarian.
But I can never get them clean. If I
Gotta go.
break down and get real glasses, but I lose them constantly. All right, I'll be right back. No, I'm teasing. All right, as clean as we're going to get. I got them on because I have all my notes, and Chris is making me lead this today because I picked out this subject. And it was
who did like the grand mass of these notes for today, so why wouldn't you just take them on? By the way,
because you put the extra cool stuff in there, and I thought that I'd just pass it on to you.
No. But by the way, welcome back to the Always Right podcast.
Oh, yeah. We're in a podcast, aren't we? So we had one on like the printing press, and I made the comment. I can't remember if I made it in.
Yes, you did.
Okay, but I was like, we need to talk about tablets and paper and how paper was made because I'm kind of curious. You know, I feel like it's a dying breed. Maybe it's starting to come back around, but with all the digital ebooks and Kindle, everyone's kind of, I'm not really into paper. And I love going to a bookstore. I love smelling the books and seeing the book covers. So
I don't think it's dying out. I don't think that the print copy is dead. I feel like a lot of people are going back to holding a book.
I hope so. I mean, I love Kindle for quick reads, but I just like having the book. So we're going to talk about paper, but we're going to start way back when writing became a thing, like early writing services. Yeah, they are services. Hey, I want to service you this tablet or this stone, and I want you to write something.
I'm a stonographer.
Early writing surfaces, and they start with stone tablets and bark, and this was circa maybe 3100 BCE. Yes, I'm reading a lot because I took a lot of notes. So determining the absolute oldest written text is complex because written can encompass many forms, and we actually were talking about this. You had a note down in here, and you're like, "Hey, what about cave drawings?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely." You know, you know, maybe not have a language, but it's like, "Look, I shot a dinosaur," or whatever. I know they didn't exist at the same time, so that's just the movies. But we're looking at ancient artifacts, and there's always this is a subject of somewhat of a degree of uncertainty. Of course, you know, if you're writing something on a clay tablet and it's from Mesopotamia or something, it may not be in like the best condition today. So it's kind of hard to really, you know, state how this went. But we do know that if you go back, the Sumerian cuneiform tablets were the first, at least that's what we think. These clay tablets from Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, date back to around 3200 BCE, and they feature cuneiform script and early writing system used wedge-shaped marks. These tablets contain various records, including administrative documents, literary text, and economic transactions. Wow. So I wonder if it's like, I gotta buy me two zebra. I wrote a little thing on a piece of stone, and that's considered currency.
There is a culture in South Africa, I think it is, where their monetary system is not money like we have it, but it's almost like these little things that they put on a string, and you have to turn those in to pay your taxes and to do like it's almost like they use their agricultural stuff to create that, and then there's a person that keeps track of that, like writes it all down. Like, how many have you given to the
To the airplane passing by.
yeah, it's shaking my whole house.
That's cool.
Yeah, sorry.
But, you know, because I was wondering, like, way back when, maybe not now, if this is going on now, but anyone can make one of these things out of clay or carve them out of stone. And, like, yeah, look what I got. I made me some money. So that is kind of cool that still exists. From there, we did have a proto-Elamite. I'm probably saying that right. I'm saying it wrong. Proto-Elamite. Would that be it? Tablets from the same general time period as the earliest Sumerian cuneiform. These tablets were found in Iran, and they used a distinct script that predates known writing systems in the region. However, their meaning is largely unknown, making their classification and interpretation complex. Whether they should be fully classified as writing is still debated among scholars. But come on, I mean, writing came from drawing squares or stick figures. So, I mean, I know today we're considering that art, but that was a
Remember probably early elementary school, reading a book that had the evolution of text, and I distinctly remember how they showed you kind of like almost like going back in time, how the shape of a letter was prior to that, or
wow.
shape of a symbol, what kind of made that transpire, just like in some of the Japanese the kanji stuff were like a tree. When you look at it, just like a T and like these little slashes, but it's like a tree. I mean, it just shortened in a faster way to write it. The quicker we had to be, the more we kind of shortened it. It's almost like shorthand. We took a big picture. Humans took these big pictures of these drawings and like this is an ox, shrunk it down, made a shape to represent it, and then eventually that evolved into maybe a symbol that represented an ox, and then eventually, evolved into writing it into more distinct wordage.
Yeah, and if you're watching this podcast, you got to keep in mind too. This is currently at a year from now. What we're talking about could be like, nope, they found something from 6700 BCE. We never know. They're always researching this.
Which is interesting you say that, because I didn't add it in these notes, but I will find it. When I was taking the Introduction to Hinduism at Arizona State University, there was a distinct piece of religious text and in the lecture that said this tablet is untranslated because there's no language that is similar to it to be able to translate it. And additionally, it's older than Sumerian text. I can't find anything on it. Like, it's so
That is
interesting.
weird, Karissa,
Why?
because I swear this morning, I get up and I'm scrolling, checking emails, and it was on Facebook, maybe something popped up about them finding this text, and the symbols on it was of no known language that they had. And now, I mean, I'll never find it again, but I wonder if it's the same thing.
I'm
And
buried.
somehow it's listening to our brains now. And it's like they listen to Carissa's brain, and she did this, and let's shoot it through to Jamie's Facebook because they're going to
Yeah,
talk
they're
about
gonna
this
meet up
today.
early. They're gonna meet up today, so we gotta, yeah. But it's in one of my textbooks. I'll have to look it up and share it at a later point. Continue to listen for that update. But yeah, it's somewhere because I'm pretty sure that tablet is something that led to or is inspired for the Vedas, which is the
Hmm.
older text of the Hindus. All right,
So from
continuing on.
there, we go to stone tablets. Palermo stone, I'm probably saying that wrong too, is an important Egyptian artifact that contains information pertaining to the first 5 dynasties of Egypt. So from 3150 to 2323 BCE. Now,
They don't
not
know where
much
it
is
really came
known.
from, though.
Do what?
Yeah, they don't really know where it came from.
Yeah, and there's not much known about it. So
Yeah,
then there's the reforms of Eureka. I know why I'm doing this one because I can't pronounce any of this stuff. And
Urukagina.
okay, we're going to go with your Urukagina. I like that pronunciation. I can't even say pronunciation. Pronunciation. I did. I'll write that down. Pronounce, and you got to spell OWNCE.
Okay,
Pronunciation.
You're announcing how you pronounce.
It's funny. I was going through these notes this morning. It's like I'll never be able to say that. So you'll see in there. I made some notes in parentheses. I went to listen to how it was pronounced. What did I say a minute ago? Pronounced. Pronoun. I can't even remember how I said that.
I'll have to go back and listen to the episode when I edit it and be like, write it down.
Well, anyway, the reforms, Urukagina, are considered the oldest legal code or Bill of Rights in recorded history. This is pretty interesting. Urukagina was a Sumerian king who ruled in the city of Lagash, and that's probably wrong too, and was interested in improving the lives of his people. Good. So if you know I say it right, say, yes, you're right, because we'll have a bunch of these in here.
Well, somebody will come forth and say, no, it's tomato. It's not tomato.
Yes, it's potato, not potato. So we move from stone finally to tree bark and leaves. And honestly, I don't know why I wasn't thinking about stone when I was researching these notes. I was thinking we're starting with paper, I start with tree bark, but then you said, hey, well, let's go back to where it began. And some cultures like the Chinese and the Indians, they would use strips of bark or palm leaves to carve or paint messages because they were lightweight and they were somewhat portable, but they weren't durable over time. So like if you carved in stone, we know it's going to last, but if you're painting on a palm thing, or if you have bark, it's going to erode and fade away and you're going to lose that message.
That is a challenge with pinpointing certain older texts, because some of the things that they may or may not have used may not exist anymore because it's kind of broke down. The carbon has, the carbon dating, all that stuff. It's just kind of one of those, it might just look like a scrap, but at the time it may have been part of its writing aspects. My gosh,
Yeah, but then we finally we left that and we came to papyrus, the first portable writing surface. And this was circa maybe 3000 BC. And this originated in ancient Egypt using the papyrus plant. Papyrus stalks were cut into thin strips, soaked, layered in a crisscross pattern, and pressed together. Then they were dried to create a smooth surface suitable for writing. This was widely used in Egypt, Greece, Rome, but it was fragile and, of course, susceptible to humidity. So, of course, this wasn't the greatest way. Of course, in many ways it was. We can roll it up, we can carry it, we can pass it along. If you're carrying a big stone tablet, you only got one. So a little known fact about papyrus is that its use is extended beyond writing surfaces. While its fame rests on its role as a writing material in ancient Egypt and the Mediterranean world, papyrus was also used to create various other forms, including sandals. And I kind of remember this from like a movie or something. In the strips, I remember seeing the woven strips on the sandals. Mats and baskets. Yes, there's another thing. Yeah, mats and baskets, mats and cakes and pies.
So we always say boots and pants, boots and pants, boots and pants.
I've lost. Where am I at? There we are.
Mats and baskets.
Construction. I swear I remember this all from the same movie, and it was about I don't know what it was. Cleopatra or someone way back in. I remember a woven boat and baskets and these sandals. So these boats.
You're watching something about the Moses thing.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, like the woven basket into the Nile.
That was it. Yes. And what was there, a baby in it or something floating down the Nile? Yes. There we go. That's exactly what it was. Now remember, I can't remember the actor's name, the main actor in the movie. And then he was out beating.
Which version? I don't know which one you're talking about. I just know that's the story from the Bible.
Yeah, but I remember seeing it in a movie, and then I remember him growing up, and then he's beating the rocks. He's one of the slaves.
Because that happens in all the movies.
Yes.
But I don't know which version you're talking about, because there was some back in the day that are older.
It's like the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was probably just called Moses, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right, or the 10 Commandments. I don't remember. So anyway, these boats were made of larger, thicker sheets of papyrus, and they could be stitched together to build boats. And a notable example being the boats used in ancient Egypt and the Nile. You just said that. Hey, they were on the Nile River. So, yes. All right, finally, we're getting to where I'm a little happier. Not that I'm not happy. I like this. It's all interesting to me because I want to know where it come from, because it freaks me out. You hold a book and you flip it in like those tiny little pages. It's just
and I feel we somewhat take things like that for granted. Like, oh, it's just paper.
We do.
But to get to the point where we have paper so readily available to us it was no easy feat. We talk about that with the printing press and the evolution of how it got to the point where we have it an easy print on demand. That didn't just happen overnight. That took a lot of invention and a lot of failures and a lot of lost text. So we have, these things that we take for granted.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story. I'm not going to tell it in the podcast. I'll tell it to you afterwards because you'll laugh. And it's not like it's dirty or anything, but I'm like, I can't believe this guy did this with this book. Nothing nasty, but I'm like ripping pages out, disrespecting. Okay, I'll tell the story, and you can edit it if you want. Okay. We're at work. This is years ago, and my buddy, we're all sitting around. It's lunchtime, and he's like, "Man, I'll tell you guys, you're going to think I'm horrible." So me and my brother, we used to smoke a pot, and we didn't have no rolling papers, and there's my grandma's Bible. And we ripped a page. This is now, granted, we ripped a page out of the back with the notes, and we rolled it up. And we're all like, are you serious? And one guy smoking a cigarette goes, holy smokes, literally. And we're all like, you're going to hell.
Taking in the word.
Yeah, taking in the word, taking pages for, taking advantage of it. We take it for granted. Quit that. I won't mention your name, Jerry, but don't. I did that on purpose. I'm not going to say his last name.
Yeah, his name is Jerry Garcia. We'll go with that one.
Yeah. That's it.
We'll go with that one.
Parchment, durable and luxurious. This is circa 2nd century BC. So the exact origin of parchment it's kind of difficult to pinpoint, but the strongest evidence points to its invention in Pergamon. No, Pergamon. I just listened to this. It was like Pergamon. I want to say Pergamon. because I remember listening to this earlier and I knew I'd screwed up. It's not Pergamon. There's Pergamon. All right, let's move on. This is modern day Turkey during the Hellenistic period, around the 2nd century BCE. And the city of Pergamon was famous for its library, which at one point rivaled the Library of Alexandria because Egypt controlled papyrus production and there was a need for an alternative writing material. The people of Pergamon developed a method of preparing animal skins to create a superior writing surface. This new material, later known as parchment, became widely adopted due to its durability and smoother writing surface compared to papyrus. I don't know why misspelling words drives me nuts, but it does. So I think it's Pergamon. And I have friends from Egypt, from Dr. Vox, so when they hear me, they're going to kill me for this. And I've seen this like, I got to get it right. Pergamon. All right, while there's evidence of earlier uses of animal skins for writing in other regions, and I can see that, the sophisticated preparation techniques and widespread adoption of parchment as a high-quality writing material strongly associates it associated with the development with pergamon. This is where it came from. So, I'm sure people skinned animals and are like, okay, we can dry this and we can write something on it, but then that's heavy. They probably stripped this and it was thin. It was easier. It probably, if they used the ink in it, it probably lasted a lot longer. They wouldn't have to worry about the humidity destroying the paper. I think that's definitely a plus. The process, of course, with the skins were soaked in lime. They were scraped to remove hair. And that's what I was thinking. If someone had a pelt or something, they had the hair on it. And they had it rolled up into writing as it dried. So, they refined this. They stretched it while drying it, and they created a smoother surface. And it was used for... Go ahead. Yep.
Oh, no. I was going to wait for your pause. But speaking of, writing on animal skins, something that when you're tattooing, some of the best skins are pig skins. For
Wow.
those who want to actually practice versus before they get to a human. I always bought they're called real skin. It's still like a silicone based type situation, but it feels more skin like. It's got the kind of same resistant. But if you're wanting to learn how to stretch and like hold your machine, some artists will actually either do like an orange or pig skins. So that's...
So, and they don't even list that they use pig skins here, but they probably don't, being from Turkey. Sheep, goats, calves, pergamon, that's how you say it. Boom, it
Bergman.
popped back in my head. But you got me thinking, then if they were doing this and they were inking instead of writing, I wonder if they were pressing in almost like tattooing.
Maybe. There might have been a scraping process because they didn't have like the ballpoint pens. They were
Yeah.
still using like that,
Yeah, like the old Indonesian, and they would pound. They had this little hammer and a little needle. Talk about the
Yeah.
Malaysian tattoos.
Yeah. Well,
And then,
and they did that in Polynesia and yeah.
yep. So this was used mainly for like documents, scrolls, religious texts, and this is where wax seals became a hallmark because that was a way of secure correspondence in medieval times. You know how that wax seal on it was only to be opened by the king or whoever, the king or the queen.
Well, the seals, those wax seals, because if they were broken, they could tell that you opened it.
Yep.
And so I seal my thing that's going to the king or going to someone, or if the king or queen was sending something out and put their seal on it, if the person it's meant for finds that the seal has been broken, then there's been a breach in correspondence there.
Yeah, and you know what? It just triggered something for me with the tattoo you did for me and Scott because that was a wax seal kind of
Yes, we
thing.
did a wax seal.
Yes, so all ties back to writing. Early paper. Chinese leads the way, and this was circa 105 CE, maybe. You know, so it was around the turn of the 2nd century. So this origin of paper is filled with interesting twists and turns. While Kai Lun is often credited with the invention of paper around the 2nd century China.
Did you see hold on, pause. So early paper, and you're like, China leads the way. Did you see what I put next to it?
Is it? Yes. So I don't know. This comes straight from. So where do you think it comes from?
Well, that's why I put it. Like, so the origin of the paper, there's like, again, twists and turns of the Kylon that is often credited with that paper from China in the 2nd century. But I have this pre-Kylon materials, like paper-like materials existed before that. Evidence shows that the use of plant fibers to create writing surfaces in China was much earlier than that. So,
So
yeah, go ahead.
this could be like hemp or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a sense, when we talked about the printing press, we kind of showed the evolution of what brought it to that point, that we know that Gutenberg eventually fine-tuned and made the printing press, but he wasn't the origin of printing.
Yeah, but and then again, this shows you that we're always going to find other things since we weren't there, we're not known. So a lot of
Yeah,
people say
yeah.
Kylon is where it came from,
I
but
feel like
here,
Pylon was more of the refinement.
yep,
Yeah, the refinement of what existed, almost like, oh, this is really good, but I think I'm gonna make it a little bit better. Yeah, like we always, grandma's recipe. You know.
yeah, it's kind of how we refer to Edison, but we all really know it was Tesla.
Yeah.
And I don't think, don't get smacked for this. I don't think Edison really ever refined it like Tesla could, but I'm not talking about the car or the company, people.
That's why it's weird and on a fringe science. All of his theories were so fringe because I don't think Edison could reproduce what he was trying to show.
Yeah. And if, yeah. Okay, so the secret sauce. The exact recipe Kylon used remains a mystery. While we know tree bark, hemp, rags, and other materials, the precise proportions and techniques are kind of lost to history. This mystery adds to the intrigue of the story. So, the spread of the technology. Yes, I'll let you take one. I'm talking too much.
Well, I talked a
Okay,
lot
yeah,
in the
you're
last
right. Okay,
episode
I'll keep going.
while you had
You
a
just,
headache. I was like,
you,
I took over for that one. But
you
I
did.
mean, yeah.
Okay, spread of the technology. The technology didn't spread instantly. Of course, I mean, look, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have this. It took centuries of paper making to travel along the Silk Road and reach other parts of Asia, the Middle East, and eventually Europe. Each region adapted the techniques and materials to their own resource and needs. This resulted in a diverse range of paper types and qualities.
Yes, pause here. The Silk Road, for those who don't know, like the Silk Road is pretty cool in history because not only it was a lot of the mercantile things that they were spreading, but this is a lot of ways that the origins of like Islam and stuff came to be, where Muhammad was able to interact with the people in the Silk Road, and a lot of people who were going back and forth through a lot of these religions, a lot of just cultural diversity kind of on that Silk Road, where people got to kind of see the differences. So there was a lot of spreading of beliefs, a lot of spreading of just different cultural things. But it's kind of like if you were if you had control of certain parts of that, you had power. The Silk Road.
Yeah, and speaking of power, times of war back then or societal upheaval, knowledge of paper making, it could be lost or it could intentionally be suppressed. And why wouldn't they want to suppress it? They don't want, information to spread.
It's
This
that
led to,
mentality, like that job security.
yeah,
People like, oh, if I don't tell you, you won't kill me. I mean, you think back
this is
then,
true.
like if you had the secret and you gave the secret to everybody, my value is less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This led to periods of rediscovery and adaptation in different regions. This isn't a strange fact in the sense of being unexpected, but it does highlight the fragility of knowledge transmission throughout history. I mean, nowadays it's so easy. You can't really hold it back. You have WikiLeaks and all this, but think of how word of mouth, or you can't really, if you had that, because this was before the printing press, so they were still writing. So you can only write so fast and write so many. But even if you suppress that small amount, you would be able to control and actually change history.
So the one things we do know about Ky-
Yeah,
Kylon,
it is
yes,
Kylun.
yeah,
That one
Kylon.
I did
Look it up.
research.
Nice.
Kylun.
Yeah,
It is
so
pronounced.
we do know that the Chinese courts, the paper, like you mentioned, with the hemp and the rags and stuff like that, and fish nets and mulberry bark, and the process, the soaking and the pounding of the pulp and spreading it onto the screen. Have you ever made paper in class
I
before?
did. I remember and we did screen printing. We did paper, like second, third grade.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so that brings back memories of doing all that, like pressing out the moisture from the pulp and getting all that until it flattens out and having that thick paper. It's almost like fabric in a sense
Yeah,
whenever it was
because
finished.
have you ever got your hands on an older book? I mean, I know we can't guess, but I've been even some older from the 1600s, and the paper did feel almost
Different.
fabricy. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, of course I just said, like this spread throughout a lot of the areas on the Silk Road via the 6th century. Like it's interesting to see how in anthropology, you have these cultures, and as they start to create roads, how diverse and how they mix, like jewelry making, clothing making, paper making, religious ideologies. It's interesting to see how socially people
Change, they
evolved.
adapt. Yes, they
They
evolve.
evolved through these roads, through these, transactions. Paper
And
mill.
yes, when was this?
This was the 12th century.
Wow, established in Spain. Crazy. So, and this is what you're talking about, like the cloth fill. They were like cloth rags, linen, cotton. They were so.
I thought it started in like the Islamic stuff.
Yeah, too, but it was the different type. This was the
Okay.
Industrial Revolution. So this is
Okay.
more mass produced.
Okay.
So this is like the big paper mills. Now we're making the plants. It isn't small people just, making the paper on their own. They're creating mills and, they're hiring workers and they're making it so it could be spread and you can write more. And again, like you read down here, like they're collected soaked, they were beaten into pulp. The pulp was poured into these big molds to form sheets, and then they were dried. And then water wheels powered the pounding of the pulp in the early mills.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I see
And this
why
is
you said
all
that.
in this yeah, this is all in the same time frame when they're starting to do, like, the wood block and the metal press for text and stuff. This is all in the same kind of time frame there too, and finding more mobile ways to print.
Yeah, because it blends right into the Gutenberg printing
Mhm.
press. And we just
Mhm.
talked about that. And this was the
Yep.
mass production of books. And so we needed paper mills. We needed to be able to keep up with the printing. So this transition, it took us from rags to wood pulp as a raw material, and it increased production speed and it lowered costs.
Like, it's like Little Orphan Annie for paper, from rags to riches.
Yeah, yes. So finally, modern paper making in the 19th century. You know what? This is another word I looked up. I heard Fordrinier and then Fordrinier. So I'm not really one of those two, or both of those are correct on the pronunciation of this. But they
Mhm.
had this Fordrinier machine or Fordrinier machine in 1804. And this was continuous paper rolls could now be manufactured and replacing that mold process. Paper became widely available for newspapers, books, and even packaging. Chemicals like chlorine and bleach were used to whiten those papers. So that's me thinking also way back when. And and I actually like books that look like yellowed. So I'm sure back in when they were making, pressing in the molds and making the paper, it wasn't bleach, so it had a yellowish stain to it, and it looked like
Yeah.
old parchment. But
Well,
now
and
they,
as school projects, modern times, and you're trying to make it look old, and you do like the tea staining, and then you take the lighter and you light the edges to make it look like it's been kind of tarnished on the side. And I've done that a lot with my kids over the years with their school projects to make things look like they're more like old and antique.
yeah, and that's a thing too. Like you go to it's what is that? Etsy? Is that what it's called?
Etsy?
Etsy. Yeah. Yeah.
Etsy.
I can't
Etsy.
pronounce. I can't pronounce anything, or how
Pronouns.
pronounce. Yes, what
Pronouns.
pronounce.
Uh,
I see people not so much
you see dead
inside,
people?
but they will burn the edges. They'll take the covers off. They'll redo them. They'll paint on the sides to make them look old and fancy.
Yes.
And it's a thing. I mean, and they'll sell a regular book, a $10 book for $200 or something.
When
You know,
I okay, and I'm gonna see if you when you think of printing factories, paper factories, what do you think of in Ohio?
Chillicothe.
Yes. Smell of coffee
It smells like sauerkraut to me.
and broccoli. Yes, it's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. Yeah, and I worked up there like during my college years for the state for ODOT on the highway, and there was just times it's like okay, you get used to it, and then woof, and then it was
Yeah.
bad.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you just soon as like what was that? 32 and 23, or was that 30, whatever those
Yep,
two roads are. I can't
you're there's
remember
that.
now.
Yeah, I know it's that one that takes you down to 32. It comes right
Yeah.
into Chillicothe.
Yeah, so right where those kind of come together, it's like I smell trail coffee.
Yes.
And certain
Yep.
days it was way worse, and some days you didn't even know.
Yep. I know.
I
So
can't
like,
imagine living right there.
yeah, I couldn't take it. There's days when we went to see Chris Daughtry on the way up was like, phew, we're in Chillicothe. But then there's
Mhm,
days I go to Columbus to teach and I don't smell anything.
mhm,
So
yeah. Modern
recycling.
paper making.
Yep.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. No, I was just saying modern paper making, the industrialization of the 19th century. This is what you were talking about, where the chemicals of the chlorine made it like a little bit more whitened and stuff like that. And oh man, sorry. But I prefer, I don't know, I prefer the thicker paper when I'm writing on than I do the thin white paper sometimes.
Oh, no, me too. I don't like the bleed through because you can see the words if you write on both sides, and
Well, and
I
I
like
like
the
to use
feel of it too.
a fine tip felt marker in a sense, so I don't like the white bleached out paper as I do when I like just thicker. I like a thick.
Yeah, I mean now I don't know so much we can do this through Ingram through our and through Lightning Source who we print with, but I know you have all nowadays you have alternative fibers. You have bamboo,
Mhm.
hemp, to be more eco-friendly. Save the trees, and I get it.
It makes sense.
And now we actually said this at the beginning. I said, here comes Kindle and ebooks, and books are not as popular, and I hope they make a comeback. And you said, I think they're making a comeback, but maybe not so much in 2024 or 2025. But I remember, 5, 10 years ago, it was like printing just went way down, and Kindle exploded, and everyone was ebook, 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 whether it
Mhm.
was PDF or was Kobo or whatever. And there was less demand there for a minute for traditional paper products. But it's kind of like, to me, everyone's into MP3s, no more CDs, no more cassettes, but now everyone's back into records.
Vinyl,
Yeah,
yeah.
vinyl is making it, and I love vinyl. Me, I love that sound.
Mhm. Yeah, we have one downstairs, and then one of our daughters has one. Actually, two of our daughters have three of them. I don't know. Most of them, I think only one of them doesn't have a vinyl record player. But yeah, the sound is definitely, and the artwork that you can put on the
I know. It's amazing. Yes. So, everybody, that's how paper is made. That's where it started.
without
And
paper, we shall not have novels. We
if
shall not
you're
have books.
yeah, if you're a Kindle reader, I'm hoping that you're listening to this and be like, it's not so boring because now it's got me back in wanting to go to a bookstore. I want to see the different colors of paper. I want to see if I can find one that looks like parchment. I want to flip through the pages and smell the paper, except the elephant one. And then
It doesn't smell like it afterwards.
yeah, I know it's been bleached, so
No,
so it's not. It's had to be bleached to bleach it white.
it's not white.
Oh, it's
It's
not.
no, no. When they use stuff like that, like the organic material, that's the key. That's the cool thing, and that the draw is the fact that it looks so organic, and it's not your typical bleach paper.
So see, now I want to go see that. I want to see a bamboo paper. I want to see a hemp paper to see like if they have a light, woody look, light brown, light green. There's got to be something in that if they're
Well, I
not
mean,
bleaching
the
it.
bamboo itself is a lot lighter colored
Yeah,
inside.
but it's not bleached white like we have these papers, And you go to a bookstore and you see either white or an off white or even a light yellowish, brownish type paper. So
Hmm.
I'm just curious because I never thought about that. So good. So if you're curious too, or if you got more questions about this, you could always email us at
And tell us your
always
favorite
right.
paper,
Yeah, tell her. I thought you were asking me. I was going to say that paper that our books are printed on because it's our books.
right?
Yes, but always write podcast@gmail.com. Definitely reach out to us. Maybe you want a little more about this or the printing process, or you have anything in mind that you would like us to cover, just reach out. And as always, you can go to always write, can't even talk, always write podcast.com.
You did what I do because it's
Yes.
always like when you say the email and then you go and say the website, you're like, wait, did I just say that?
And Karisa, by the way, she just reset up the page. It looks so cool. You can go there. You can find us on all like YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all these places. It's so easy to go there and click. So whatever you like to listen to a podcast or watch us, even watch me be goofy and talk with my hands and drink my water bottle a million times, you can see us in video form too. But this was an interesting subject for me today, even though I read most of it. But I had no clue. I'm reading like, really? No. And then I love my partner because she's like, wait a minute, I got a note here. Because she'll read through everything that I do, which is like 2% of all the research is all I do. And she's like, I got something to add. So that's like the Kai Lund thing. I was like, I don't remember putting that in there. That's because I got you. So it was taken care of. Let me take these dork glasses off now. I can see. Close my notes. But again, it's been great having you on here. Check us out. Always right podcast.com.
Yes.
And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all our support that we get from our listeners and all the people who follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So for the future, listening, thank you. We've got more to come, and we've got an exciting year next year coming out. I'm not sure when this episode's actually airing because we've got several on docket. We've got some amazing podcasters coming on. So, yeah, whenever this is on, thanks for listening.
Yep. And we will see you in the next episode.
All right, always right.